I encourage anybody who owns a business, anybody who runs a business, put your people first. Go the extra mile for them. Do the extra little thing. Send them a gift card on their birthday. Send them money to go to dinner with their spouse for their anniversary, right? Something small and so insignificant that's not going to break your bank. Do it because they're going to appreciate it and they're going to value it. And that's what's important.
Welcome to the Honest Marketing Podcast, where you learn proven strategies to grow your business without selling your soul. I'm your host, Travis Albritton, and today I had the pleasure of sitting down with Ashlie Marshall, who is the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Strategy Officer of Tier Level Digital Marketing, and also they have another business as well, which we talk about here on the podcast. And what I love so much was just the candidness, the openness of Ashlie sharing the inner workings of how they manage their own company, both the team culture, financial planning, customers acquisition, managing risk and your cash flow and your revenue forecasts, all really important topics to keep you grounded and have a solid foundation for your sales and marketing moving forward. Make sure you stick around to the very end of the conversation where I'll give you my number one takeaway, but here it is. Let's dive in. Ashlie, welcome to the Honest Marketing Podcast. Super excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So just so we can kind of get our bearings a little bit, I would love for you to walk me through your professional background when it comes to marketing, when it comes to being a C-level executive at Tier Level, and then also talk a little bit about what Tier Level digital marketing does and the kinds of services you provide for your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Background on me. I went to college, thought I was going to get out of college and have a great job, the whole tidbit, and didn't work that way. Shuffled around till I figured out what I wanted to do, dabbled in a lot of different things, and never in a million years would have thought I was going to land in marketing. Marketing in college was not my favorite topic and subject. So it is interesting how I landed there, but life got me there, I would say. It wasn't a career choice. It was more like, this is going to be a great opportunity for my family because I can work from home and take care of my kids. And that was kind of how I morphed into that. And my role currently with Tier Level, I am the CFO. So I am more behind the scenes. I didn't start that way. I was very much one of the faces, customer facing, in and out, doing the marketing, doing the digital marketing, strategizing with clients. And I still do strategize with some of our clients, but I am more behind the scenes now, which I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie. And I definitely keep our financials in order, strategize financially. And that was where I had strength in college and in my younger years was organizational, finance, things like that. So it's kind of how I morphed into the role I'm in now, I guess you could say, where my strengths lie. And then Tier Level. So Tier Level consists of two companies. We have a digital marketing agency, and then we have a screen print shop in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And both operate under the same umbrella because it's similar customer range, I would say. We're working on branding, marketing, includes merch and promo items and things like that as well. They do operate separately and have different customer bases. And our digital marketing agency focuses mostly on SEO and Google local service ads. We do not do pay-per-click. We do everything that really pushes the organic side of your digital presence for your business. We mostly work with franchise companies, but we also have some independents that we work for as well. And working for the two is very different, very drastically different. So it's interesting seeing and getting to test what works and what doesn't. And then, as everybody knows, Google constantly changes and the digital space constantly changes. So we're ever learning, ever revolving on what we do and what works and how it works. And it's fun and interesting. And our team really loves what they do. And then on the print shop side, we have some really large contract work that we do for local areas in Tulsa and Broken Arrow. And we're very rooted in that community there. I do not live there, but that business being there, I work for them remotely. So it's a lot of fun. I love that team. They're very similar to our digital marketing team. They also love what they do, and they enjoy being out in the community, servicing the community, providing merch to the community, and it's just a lot of fun. So that's what our companies do and my role.
Very cool. Now, there's something that you mentioned that I want to piggyback on first before I kind of answer the next question I had in mind, which is you mentioned that there's a difference between serving independent businesses versus more like franchise operators. I'm
Yes.
curious to hear from you what those differences are. When I hear franchise, I think, oh, I land one account, I have like 200 business units that I'm now doing business with. That could be amazing and also terrifying at the same time. So I'm curious what changes in how you approach serving those types of clients and how their needs are different than maybe like an individual business that just has one storefront or one website that you're managing or one location.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the franchise systems that we work with, it's one specific one that we have found very abundance in terms of clients. And they have a very strict corporate office in terms of how they can digitally represent the company. I have learned there are other franchise systems in the nation that have similar, but the restrictions are different, right? So there might be more restrictions on the website and what we can and cannot change and what we can and cannot produce content wise. And other franchise systems have more restrictions on the social media side of life. So obviously we have branding obligations that we have to abide by. And then we also have territorial guidelines that we have to abide by. So we service over 100 franchises in one specific franchise system. And they have very strict territorial guidelines for their marketing in person, boots on the ground. And then that translates to very strict guidelines for their digital marketing as well. And they're not allowed to do ads or promote in certain named cities or target areas or zip codes. And so when we are working with the franchise system, sometimes it can seem as though we're doing work with one hand tied behind our back. So we have to get very creative with how we provide results for each specific franchise system, depending on the restrictions that their corporate office places on them. With independents, it's a lot more fun in terms of creativity, right? We have fun servicing our franchise clients and getting creative in the parameters that we have to. But with independents, when we don't have restrictions and we have a website that is basically our blank slate and social media that we get to work one-on-one with that client and really create a presence that they want without any parameters to operate in, it gets a lot more interesting. And what I have found over the years that is interesting is even though the franchise system has strict parameters, because our team has been very creative with how we provide service for them, their results are just as strong analytically as our independents. Sometimes the franchise system is stronger because they have that powerhouse corporate office behind them that's throwing money into their, SEO and organics and digital marketing. And it helps the smaller individually owned and operated businesses that we work with to build their branding and their marketing. So it's been an interesting journey learning what works and what doesn't, but specifically, it kind of has taught me it doesn't matter what route you go on or what your restrictions are. You can still get really great results if you're consistent with your digital marketing.
Yes, consistency is key. You can't just try it for 2 weeks and be like, oh, that didn't work. I guess Google ads don't work. I guess social media doesn't work. Well, you posted 3 times. What do you expect is going to happen?
Even a month. Okay. Even if you give it a month, I'm like, how do you know it's not working? You don't know it's not working. It's like that. We're all created these individual people about instant gratification.
Yeah.
And digital marketing on the organic side is not going to give you immediate instant gratification.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, and it's a long marathon.
Yeah. Now I'm curious because you spoke to the importance of results, and especially as an agency, we always want to focus on what's the outcomes we're delivering for clients, right? When I think about my own agency, it's like I can talk about the things that I quote unquote did, the billable hours of the work, but in order for it to be mutually beneficial, it needs to benefit the business that I'm working with, right?
Absolutely.
And so with more of a focus on organic or just like kind of the foundational principles of building an online presence, how do you set proper expectations with your clients about the amount of time it takes for some of these strategies to actually come to fruition and start to take root and actually start delivering results? Where a lot of agencies that I've talked to that do digital marketing, they use paid advertising to supplement those results as they wait for those organic strategies to take root. How do you have those conversations? How do you set those expectations? Or are there things that you're doing to kind of supplement in the initial couple weeks, couple months to give your clients confidence that you are what you're doing is working for them, and they just have to kind of stick it out and stick it with you in order to get to the other side of where they need to be?
That is an excellent question. I believe that we approach that entire concept very differently from most agencies. Our expectation setting starts the very first time we speak to them, and we do it through education. We educate them on not necessarily the value, because we can't tell them the value in what we do. We educate them on why what we do brings results, how it works. And sometimes we have, we speak with people that grasp it. They're conceptually able to just, I get it. I totally understand. I understand. I need your services. Right. And some people, it is a struggle. I mean, there's topics that I struggle to understand all the time. So we work through educating them from the very first time we talk to them on how it works, how the intricacies of it work, why consistency is important over long periods of time, and what results we look at to know if it's working or not, right? What are the tedious little analytical shifts that we want to see? What's a realistic shift over the course of 12 months from somebody that did absolutely nothing with their digital marketing to now working with us, right? And we have those case studies that we've put together to show them, like, look, this is what's happened. And then we also have case studies in events where there was massive disruption in what we were doing, not on our side, but on the client side. Maybe their corporate office made a huge shift in how they were allowing the franchisees to produce content or bring in content, or where it was being channeled, right? Maybe their corporate office powerhouse had a blip with Google, and it did affect other franchise owners, right? Maybe not every single one of them, but a vast majority of them. And we show them the good, the bad, the ugly. And we explain to them how this is how much we can control of your analytical results, but this is how we control that little bit. And this is how much impact that little bit will have on your digital presence. And we just are very honest with what they can expect in terms of results and what specific analytical markers we're looking at to see if what we're doing is working. Sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay too. We have very dedicated client advisors that speak with our clients on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They are constantly there. They are their go-to. They're highly educated, highly experienced, and they're constantly learning. So they keep that education element in every single conversation that they have, every meeting that they have, every review of analytics. They talk through strategies. Maybe the client didn't like the engagement on a certain post, and they want to see that change and shift. And so we talk through strategies on how to do that, why we think their idea might be a great idea, or why we think their idea might not work. Do you want to test it? Let's venture down that path together. So in terms of how we handle it, we're very white glove, hands-on, day in, day out, education, communication. Sometimes our clients get really upset with certain things, and we struggle through those challenging conversations. And sometimes they sing our praises for years and never have any problems with how we work or what we do. But either way, we're giving the same client, like the same two different perspectives of our services, the same education, the same service, and keeping that door of honest, open communication completely open all the time. Honestly, that's how we've grown our business. 99% of our business is referral based. Our business has grown in the last 3 years dramatically just on referrals.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that just speaks to the results, right? Somebody wouldn't be
Yeah.
referring another business owner to you if you weren't getting them great results. So that's amazing. Talk to me a little bit about your, I guess the word I'm looking for is your filtering process for prospects. When you get inbound referrals or leads or the opportunity to work with a new business, are there any red flags that you look for that would indicate this is not going to be a great fit for our strengths and what we bring to the table as far as what they're looking to do, what they're looking to accomplish? Because I know for me, my agency, it's also for the most part, it's a B2B sales or organic content marketing type play. And so if somebody comes in and they say, okay, I want to like 5x my ROI in 3 months, it's like, well, we're having the wrong conversation. You need to go run some Facebook ads is what you need to do if that's what you want. Don't work with me. Are there any kind of indicators or red flags that you look for where there's a misalignment in what the business owner needs versus what you provide? And how do you basically determine if this is going to be a great long-term relationship and you're not just saying yes to everybody that wants to work with you and then churning them out the back end because ultimately it wasn't a good fit from the start?
Absolutely. So we have one person who does most of our inbound sales calls, and that's our CEO, Whitney Ramirez. And we just had this conversation on our podcast last week that we recorded. And when her and I were both simultaneously trying to handle the inbound calls and take sales calls and talk to potential clients, one of the biggest things, and it comes right back to that honest communication, was listening to what they have to say. And when they do say things like, oh, I want to, 5x my ROI in 6 months, I'm like, well, you might be barking up the wrong tree. Let's talk about that. Like, why are you trying to do that? What are the upcoming events in your business? Maybe they're trying to build it up so they can sell. Maybe they're trying to reach a certain goal for a very specific reason, right? Let's talk about that. Let me find out what's really motivating you. And then I can help you strategize something that's going to actually work. And that may or may not be using us, right? That may be, I know a company who is very aggressive with their pay-per-click and their strategy in terms of ads and ad-based marketing. And I think that's the route you need to go on. Here's a couple names. Call them. If you have any questions, if they're not very thorough with the information, come back to me, ask me questions. I don't mind spending 30 minutes of my day talking to you and helping you strategize that through your business. So you're absolutely right. The red flags that pop up are, what are their goals? Why are you looking to use a company like us? What is it that you think is going to be produced by utilizing our services? And then let's talk through that. Let's really have that open conversation. And sometimes owners are very open to have it. Sometimes owners are not open to have it. They don't want to tell you how much money they made last year and what they're hoping to make this year. And they don't want to divulge, intimate information about their business. And that's okay. And sometimes that in and of itself is a flag of notification. Like, okay, are you really going to be willing to work with us the way that we know we can operate the best for you? I don't know. So sometimes those things are the flags, just the conversation, just getting through it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very similar. Sometimes it's just a gut thing. It's like,
yes,
I just don't sense this is going to work out as a good working relationship. So
yeah,
let me be of service to you by pointing you in a better direction. And that can be hard, feeling like you're leaving money on the table, especially if things are tight or it's been a long time since you picked up the new project, to be like, well, maybe I'll say yes when I really know that I should say no. And just speaking candidly from my experience, I am never thrilled afterwards that I said yes. I'm always like, I should have just trusted my gut there. Could have just had rice and beans for a couple of days to hold me over. That would have been much better than saying yes to a poor client.
It's very true. I think we used to not be as good at it, Whitney and I, at the no, or at the, I think what you're looking for is this. And when I say used to, it was years ago when her and I really set in motion the culture that we wanted for the company and how we wanted our team to feel at work, coming to work, doing the work. Clients played a big part of that. And her and I had been through some very, very challenging situations with clients where we were in very not good conversational experiences. And we didn't want that for our team. And if we can be that buffer to catch that not good fit and have the opportunity to say, you know what, this really isn't going to work. Your goals aren't aligning with what we're going to be able to produce for you in terms of reality, right? And getting to say that no has really been able to protect our corporate culture and help our team thrive. And not that we shade them from challenging situations. We have not. We encourage them to step into the challenging situations, but like you said, it's a gut instinct, right? And you can have the best clients and still have challenging situations, and that's okay too. But we definitely try to do as best we can to make sure that professionally it's a good fit and we're going to be able to produce results based on the goals that they have.
100%. Now, something that I'm curious about, because I've had very large clients in the past. And so when you have those really big contracts, like you mentioned, this one particular franchise where you have about 100 or so different people that you're working with or locations, it's great when you're working with that client because it's like, man, this is bringing us some good revenue for us. This is a great relationship we want to continue to invest in. But with your CFO risk assessment hat on, you're probably thinking,
yeah,
man, this is a large part of our revenue mix. If something happens,
yes,
to this one client account, that could really make or break a lot of things. How do you assess risk mitigation or, obviously going above and beyond to make sure you continue to have a great working relationship with that client, but not put yourself too overextended into one particular basket to kind of de-risk the whole business from a CFO perspective of how do we make sure that the mix of revenue coming in is a healthy mix that allows us to weather changes or things that are outside of control without negatively affecting the team for a long period of time.
Yeah. So that's been my challenge for the last 2 years, right? My risk assessment alarm is loudly singing. We have worked to build new relationships with other large franchise systems. And in that, we have learned that a lot of franchise systems are very restrictive on their franchisees using companies like us, which is where we kind of shifted. And instead of going after another franchise system, we have definitely broadened our net in terms of independent companies that we work for and that we build relationships with. So I'm really glad you brought that up because it has definitely been a big conversation in our leadership team, because there have been some situations where it was a big we could lose this whole basket because of shifts or changes that are being made on the inside. And I would say that has been a very rocky situation for the last 3.5 years. But as of right now, it appears as though it's going the complete opposite direction. And it's actually going to be a more abundant basket to work from. And so when we realized that, we have definitely been pouring into education in terms of how we can better service that basket of clients and how we can be more robust in what we do for them. So we've started offering different services. We have started finding new streams of revenue for them specifically. But in turn, that has turned around and brought us more business outside of their basket. And so sometimes when you focus too hard on the problem and not the solution, you can land in a place that's going to overextend your team or overextend your resources, and you're not going to be able to provide the best results, like you said, maintaining that relationship while also growing others. For us, in our case, focusing on that relationship and building it and fostering it was what led us to opening our robust services and being able to be more available to other independent companies. And we grew on that side unexpectedly. So for us, it was finding new solutions for them and then realizing that those solutions can be repackaged for other independents. That's really what really helped us get out of that risk, that risk factor. And then that, made me calm down a little bit. So it has been challenging. And I would say what was more challenging was when we were trying so hard to find another system equal that would provide us the same amount of business that basket did. It was frustrating and it was humbling and it was devastating at times, right? We had some difficult meetings with some difficult people, and then we shifted and we said, you know what? We're going to focus on the basket we do have. We're going to focus on improving the services for them. We're going to focus on providing more communication, more education, more everything, and pouring into those people and those businesses. And in doing that, it it gave us more outside of the basket, which is very unexpected.
It's nice when it works out. But I also know you have your rainy day plan of, because I know for me as a business owner, there have been times in my life where it's like I wake up at 2 a.m. in a cold sweat because of like this one random stray thought I have, and now I'm wide awake. It's like, what if this happens? Doesn't matter how likely it is, but just the fact that I had the thought immediately sends me off into anxiety land, right?
And then the tree grows in your brain while you're sleeping, and you're like, I can't sleep.
So, so as the CFO, I think the reason I want to ask this is not just for me personally, but a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, once they grow a small team, they typically will kind of like set aside, looking at the financials, monitoring the cash flow, the accounts payable, receivable, all that kind of stuff. Because it's not as fun as like developing the future vision of the company, if we're being honest.
It's true. No, you're 100% right.
But it's super important. So when you think about creating a robust rainy day plan for if we lose X number of clients in this time frame, here's what our overhead expenses are, here's our fixed expenses, here's our variable expenses that we can shift around. How do you think about creating that emergency plan to make sure that you're set up for success as you invest not only in your franchise partner, but all those other relationships you're building, bringing on new clients, but also recognizing the clients aren't going to stay with you forever as well? Like, how do you go about putting together a really healthy plan that can allow you to kind of like calm the alarms a little bit to know like, hey, we got X amount set aside in our savings account, so we're good for at least this amount of time. What does that plan look like, and how do you come up with that kind of plan for your company?
Absolutely. So first, you kind of mentioned it at the end of your conversation, of your comments there, was, you have to have the rainy day account, right? You have to have the working capital account. So having multiple working capital accounts, we have one for each business. And there's roughly 2 to 4 months worth of our current, what we need to operate right now in those accounts, right? On a rotating basis. Sometimes we dip into it for investments or for equipment or software programs or, whatever. So it fluctuates, but it's roughly around there, right? So that's the first step in your plan, getting to a point where you have the rainy day account set aside in case tomorrow that door shuts and you're like, oh, no. Without being too explicit. Oh no. And so the next part of that, Whitney and I have talked very explicitly about this, is that our number one goal would be to keep the team intact as long as we possibly can, right? So we have the working capital account that has monthly expenditures covered for however many months out. The next thing is to do everything that we can to keep the team intact. We would never want to do layoffs. We would never want to have to let go of people. We have had to do it in the past, and we don't want to go down that route, right? So in the event that something like that were to happen, we want to keep the team intact as long as we can. So we have expenses that are in a category in my brain that are, okay, this would be the first thing we would let go of. This would be the first thing that we don't need to operate. We can find a different way to operate without this specific piece, right? So there are, when the ship is sinking, what are the things that you lose first, right? You throw out first. We have that list. So that's the next thing. Have the list of the things that you are willing to part with, and maybe make sure that specific key individuals in your team know that when we get to a point where we're losing that, you need to be creative with how we're operating without it, right? They have to have that preparedness plan in terms of, okay, if we lose this software program today, how are you going to function without it? What's the game plan? How are we going to turn things around and keep everything moving forward? So you have to have that in place. And, you want your trusted team of, whether that is an executive team, whether that is middle management team, whether it's one specific person who has all the plans laid out, right? Whatever that is for your company. And maybe it's you. I don't know. Write it down. Yeah. You can't remember everything. So there you go. And then making sure that, one, being realistic, we know the door won't shut right away. It won't be an immediate 24-hour turnaround, right? It'll be a gradual process. The next part of that is being prepared to be very honest with your team. And while you always try to shoulder majority of the burden from them, right? That way they have a very positive corporate culture and they're not weighed down by your stressors as the business owner or the business executives. There comes a time where you have to be prepared to have the open conversation. And maybe that gives them the option of, look, this is where we are realistically. We didn't expect for this to happen. This is our plan. I'm not going to hold you back from making your own plan and doing what's best for you and for your family. So having that, being ready to have that conversation, making sure that you constantly have your own marketing going. That is the next piece of that plan. When times get tough, as you, I am sure know, the first thing people cut is their marketing. And it is tried and true, been tested and proven that is the wrong thing to do. When times get tough and money gets tight, do not take away from your marketing bucket. That is where you need to keep the money consistently pouring into. Because if that door's shut, what do you have now? You have nothing. You don't have a presence. You don't have social media. Your company has no personality to the outside world if you cut off your marketing when things are tight. No, that is the thing that you have to keep investing in. So maintain your marketing. If you have an inkling that big door is going to shut, pour into your marketing. Invest explicitly into your marketing, and it will change. It will turn around. You have to have people on your team who are constantly in that sales motive, right? And they have the pipeline going, and there's all the work that goes into the pipeline for your sales is consistently running. That is where you need to keep investing when there's a possibility of that and you know it's right around the corner. Now, as a contingency plan, right? Just stay consistent. Just stay consistent. Just stay consistent in your marketing, whether you are a company that has boots on the ground, building relationships face-to-face with people, whether you are solely online, digitally present, that's it. Whatever it is, pour into it and keep that flowing as long as you possibly can. That should be the last thing you do. The last thing you get rid of right before you shut your doors is stop marketing.
Yeah, because if you can't talk to new people about what you do, how are you going to fix your revenue problem, your cash flow problem, right?
If your basket all of a sudden drops from the sky and you have nothing else to, like, I can't sing it enough. Like, don't drop your marketing.
Yeah, especially if you have a longer sales cycle where it's not just like somebody clicks on an ad and buys a coffee mug with a puppy on it or something. You know, it's actually like a considered purchase where you have to have conversations and meetings and more meetings and more meetings and more emails.
Yes.
It's like, well, yeah, then you need to keep that pipeline flowing so you always just have more people coming back into it, you know?
It's true.
So a couple more things I want to talk to you about before we kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
The first one is you've mentioned a couple of times the importance of creating a positive team dynamic, both from a leadership perspective, protecting them from stressors that are unnecessary, to also really making sure that the clients you bring in are going to be a joy to work with, to then bring out the best in your team. How do you think about your team dynamic, the culture you want to build within the company, and then also just speak to how that bleeds into the marketing, sales, service aspects of your business? Because I think it can often be like this, yeah, we'll throw in some positive company culture, but at the end of the day, we want results. We expect results. And it's kind of like this almost militant, like robotic approach to management where it's only output focused instead of, yeah, but if you're spending 40 hours a week here, you should enjoy it as well. Talk about your approach to team building and how that has had an impact, or what type of impact it's had on all the other areas that those team members touch within your business.
My background, I am from, a family of hard workers and, the workhorse generation, as I like to call it. My dad still works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. sometimes, right? And that was what I grew up watching. My parents work that way. And when I entered into the professional world later than I expected to, I was that way, right? And I was working hard, maybe working harder, not smarter, where I should have been working smarter, not harder, right? So had a very, I wouldn't say it was unhealthy, but I would say it was definitely headed in the direction of being an unhealthy work life balance of life. And over the years, I've realized, in my opinion, work-life balance, there's no balance, okay? You have life, and in life, you have to work. And if you don't like going to work, you are not going to do a good job. If you don't like the person that you're doing work for, if they don't show appreciation for the things you do, or for when you may have gone out of your way to do a small thing that made a big difference, there's no recognition of that. Well, that's not why you did it, to get the recognition, but it would be nice for somebody to say, you know what? That was really awesome. Thank you for doing that. Great work. So simple, but it made you, I'm going to keep working hard. I'm going to keep pouring into this company because they know that I'm doing it to better the company. If the company grows, then I grow, right? There's a mentality in our corporate culture as a nation and in other nations as well, that it is results, 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 very militant, right? And then everybody gets into this robotic way of life, as you put it very eloquently. That is not life. That's not life. We are humans. We are people. And if you don't recognize that about the people you're surrounded by, whether you are in leadership or whether you are not, treating other humans as humans and not robots looking for that militant, results-driven aspect of your business, you have to change that. Because I can tell you, I could ask every single one of our team members on Sunday night how they feel about going to work in the morning. And I can be almost 100% positive that all of them would be like, oh, I'm so excited to get on Zoom, because we sit on Zoom from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I just have to get on Zoom and tell everybody about my weekend, right? Like, we have little chit chats here and there. Everybody sits on and talks. For the most part, our cameras are off and our mics are muted, but it's like our little bullpen, right? So if you have a question, you can talk to somebody. And that's so important, that you want to come to work on Monday, that you know that you have a doctor's appointment and you're not stressing about not being available for your team, because you know there's 2 other people who are going to pick up your slack if you can't answer a question. And you know that your leadership team is going to say, go to your appointment. Don't put in time off. Go to your appointment. Hope everything's okay. If you need something, you let me know. If your client reaches out to you, send them to me. I will talk to them. Like, it doesn't take much to do that. And it's treating humans like humans and putting your own team and your own people first at the top of that food chain, and pouring into them, supporting them, providing them every resource that they need to do the best job they can, encouraging them to find new resources, encouraging them to take whatever training they feel would be beneficial to them, providing them training, saying, this is a great training I think you would really love. Do it. Pay for it. Take care of it, right? That doesn't take a lot of effort to treat other people like humans. And what you will find when you do that is they in turn are going to work so hard to provide that result that you need for your client, that you never have to drill in militant, results-driven anything. You never have to say, hey, I don't feel like you put your all into this, because they put their all in every single day, because you put your all into them. Not, yes, I'm the CFO. Yes, I focus on our numbers. Yes, I make sure our bills are paid, but that's not where I put my focus every single day. I put my focus in making sure that our team has what they need, checking in with them, making sure, hey, how was your weekend? Right? We have different group chats, group texts with different teams, and like, hey, y'all, how's it going? You know, me being from Texas, it's always, hey, y'all. So I always am doing that. And Whitney is always doing that. And our COO is always doing that. And it's important to us because we know what environment we want to work in. And I want to provide that environment for everybody on the team. And it's not hard. It's not hard. And they work their tails off and they get the results and they have fun doing it. I mean, how awesome is that? Like, why would you not want that environment? So we really focus on people first, our people first. And if we pour into our people, they will pour into our clients. They are going to grow the client's business. They're going to grow our business. and they're going to like it and they're going to have fun doing it. And no, they might not stay with us all the time, but at least we have set a precedent for them saying this is what a good work environment is like. This is what a healthy environment should feel like to work for. And we never discourage our team from, if you find a new opportunity that's good for you and your family, we encourage you to do it. We will write your recommendation. We will give you glowing, whatever you need. And we encourage you to do that for yourself because you have to put your family first. And then we find somebody else, right? And it's fine. And it will be okay. And we will still love them. And we will still invite them to team events. And it's fine. So I encourage anybody who owns a business, anybody who runs a business, put your people first. Go the extra mile for them. Do the extra little thing. Send them a gift card on their birthday. Send them money to go to dinner with their spouse for their anniversary, right? Something small and so insignificant that's not going to break your bank. Do it because they're going to appreciate it and they're going to value it. And that's what's important.
Well said. Well, Ashlie, I really appreciate you being here and taking the time to share from your expertise, from your experience. I had a lot of fun interacting with you. We'll leave links to Tier Level and Ashley's LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff below. But
Absolutely.
one last plug. Talk to me about your podcast, what it's been like, what you talk about, where people can find it, all that kind of stuff.
We talk about everything business related. Some stuff's not so business related. Whitney Ramirez and I, we have had a lot of personally challenging situations that we've been through in life before we met each other, after we've met each other. And we really want to share things we've been through, things we've experienced, challenges we faced, and how we got through them to open the door to have a healthy conversation with others in similar situations or in similar challenges. And we want to help people through it, but we also want to hear other people's story to help us through maybe something we haven't experienced yet, but we may down the road. But just that interaction, that conversation, having that true, authentic presence for ourselves and for our company, and really have in-depth conversations in regards to leadership, finance, sales, marketing, anything you name it, we talk about it. Kids, dogs, we have all of that in our environment. So
Everything. Yeah. So if you're listening, go and check out C-Suite Chicks on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. But Ashley, it's been a blast. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
So something that Ashlie said that really stuck out to me that I've seen to really be true in my business is that when you invest in your people, in your team, it has outsized impacts on the way that team shows up to do work for your clients, which ultimately helps you retain them longer so you can earn more revenue from them and leads to better referrals, more word of mouth, and all of the things that help your business continue to grow and flourish. She mentioned that 99% of the new business is from referrals and word of mouth. That speaks to the level of impact they're able to have with their current clients in order to earn business from their new clients. So don't overlook investing in your team culture. It makes a big impact on your business, both on the sales and marketing side, but then also just how fun it is to show up to work every single day. Make sure you go and check out Tier Level Marketing and Ashlie Marshall. Connect with her online on LinkedIn. Check out the C-Suite Chicks podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give them a follow there, give them a review, let them know that you heard them here first. And I hope you found this interview entertaining, fun, educational, and informative. And until next time, be honest.